Well, don't look now, but they think they may be able to anticipate people who are serial killers before they go out and kill people by analyzing their hair. This isn't funny. They can tell if you have a biochemical imbalance in the brain causing antisocial behavior in which you do things in which you don't give a damn what the effect of your action is. Now, we're going to talk to a man who wrote a book about a man who killed 16 women in the Rochester area, is now doing 250 years in prison, and the psychiatrist who examined him and whether or not he had the kind of thing we might be looking for that will enable us to anticipate behavior of this horrendous kind. Before we do that, meet Marina. Here is a divorced mother of one child from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Her child was born premature. Her child bit 4 playmates in kindergarten, drew blood on some occasions. Here is a woman who has been talking to herself and terrified as she looks at the behavior of her own child. Am I overstating it so far, Marina?
Not a bit.
This has been a nightmare for you.
This has been a nightmare.
How much did he weigh at birth?
2.5 pounds.
He's now 6.
Right.
And he did the telephone message, didn't he, for you?
Yes, he did.
Here is her beautiful child in his loveliest personality on their phone message machine, and then I want to show you another tape. Watch this. Listen to this.
Hi, this is calling Marina's phone. Please leave a message, and I love you, whoever you are, and please call and leave a message. Bye. It's calling Marina.
That's not how he is all the time, though, is it?
Not a bit.
You took a videotape of him.
I did.
Did you explain to him why you were taking the tape?
He knew that I was going to be on your show, and he was upset about it. So he was angry. He told me he was going to take a lineman's pliers and cut down every wire to every TV, and then when the repairman came, he was going to shoot him dead.
So there's a lot of talk about death, and there's a reference to turning the heat on and burning your face and so on. Here's the tape.
Don't throw things.
You jerk!
Why am I a jerk?
Because you just are!
Why?
You're the worst mother I ever owned!
I am not.
You are too.
Why are you saying that? What did you just call me when you were in the
I
bathroom?
never ever want to see you.
Huh? I want to get it on tape.
Why?
Because I don't like those words you use.
Where are you going to take it to?
I'm just taping it. I want you to watch it.
I'm never going to watch it. I'm just going to pee on you.
You're going to what?
Pee on your head.
I don't think that's funny at all.
And pee down your mouth.
That is not funny.
It's just funny.
No, it isn't.
I'm gonna turn the heat up to 80 and I'm gonna stick your head in fire.
Well, that would be cute, wouldn't it?
Yeah. A little bird face mother.
Also uses the F word. Well, you're right. That's true. Can happen. They can give you the finger when they're 5. But how alarming is this if you're the mother? What is the difference between incorrigibility and I gotta get some help here? You know, I mean, can just parental guidance fix this?
No, she actually needs help.
Therapy?
Therapy, whatever, because after all, this child is on its way.
Yeah, we got a real live shrink here. I want to show you another tape of this child, and will in just 1 second. Dr. Krause, you haven't seen that tape.
No, I haven't, no.
You are the rural psychiatrist from Honey Falls, New York. You're affiliated with the Wayne County Mental Health Department. You consult privately with public defenders.
That's
so
right.
You've seen your share of criminals, and we don't want to scare anybody here. And nobody is predicting. You know, this young man probably will win a Nobel Prize or have a talk show, you know, that goes around the world. But so, I don't want to scare this mother already. This is a mother, obviously got her lap full of problems here. What would be, would you have anything that you might be able to share with us based upon this, what you've just seen here regarding this child?
Well, obviously this is a very disturbed child. I think...
Very disturbed. You would identify this as very disturbed.
Sure. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. The insights that I've gotten from my work with the Shawcross case.
Shawcross is the serial killer. Yes.
The serial killer.
Yes.
Would begin to augment some of the thinking that I want to do and the kind of studies that I want to do on this child.
So you would, as a professional person, when you begin to look at a child like this, you would at least suspect, subject to proof, as I'm sure you would do in conservative, double-blind study way, you would hold out the possibility of a biochemical disorder in the brain here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which could be determined. You get some information from blood, some from urine, but if I'm to understand this, you get most of the information quite literally from hair samples. Is this so?
Well, I haven't.
You want to say no? Well, let me hand it off here. Bill Walsh, negative. Tell me.
That's right. To do this job right, you need to do a full medical procedure, and it really requires blood analysis, urine analysis, and some tissue analysis, some hair analysis.
Okay, so it's all then.
Yes, it is.
Without one being. There is a legacy, though, of certain metals left in the hair that does not survive in other body parts. Is that so?
That's how we discovered this originally, yes.
You are a biochemist at the Carl Pfeiffer Treatment Center in Wheaton, Illinois.
That's right.
And you specialize in the examination of behavior like this, either in children or adults, with an effort to determine whether or not we have the possibility of a genetic disposition to antisocial, sometimes criminal behavior.
That's correct, except that we've moved to Naperville, Illinois.
Oh, fine. All right. I am corrected. Here now, once again, is Marina's little boy. Here's the F word, which for our family show, this is the 6-year-old child.
And I'd like to get a axe and chop your head in.
What?
I'd like to get an axe and chop your head off.
Why would you get an axe and chop my head off?
Because you're too much of a jerk.
Now, what were you just telling me about making a tape and you on TV and stuff? What was the problem there?
It's just a f***ing idea.
It's what?
Just a f***ing idea.
Corey, you think you're being cute, don't you?
I mean, I don't want this on my talk show. We're making a talk show. So set the camera over where it belongs. Okay, or I'll kill you.
What did you call me?
Jerk.
No, you didn't call me that.
What did I call you?
What did you call me?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I bet you forgot, huh?
Yeah.
Come on, and want it on tape?
I'm not going to give it to you on the tape.
Why not?
Unless the cop comes and holds me down.
Why would a cop come and hold you down?
So I would scream and rave, and then they could stick something in my mouth that would make me say it. Like some mouthwash and make me drink it with some mouthwash with nail polish remover.
Corey, the cops wouldn't do that to you. Why do you think they would do that? That's horrible.
This is why I die right after my picture.
What?
This is why I die right after my picture.
What picture?
After my video, I die.
No, I don't want you to die.
Now let's go on a talk show now.
So this, she's divorced. She's a single mother. Yes, his father has had trouble with the law.
Yes.
Yes, his father was a drug abuser. Yes, his father is now out of his life.
Yes.
Is there any visitation or connection at all with him?
No, he's been gone since he was 3.5.
Absent from his life.
Right.
And is he otherwise angelic, or are these episodes? Or?
He can be the most precious, loving, wonderful child in the world. There's more on the tape. He's talking to me. He is saying, I love you. He has his arms around my neck. He's kissing me.
Yes.
And he hits me.
Nail polish remover is toxic, is it not?
I would think so.
How would he know this?
He knows everything.
Are there frequent references to acts and murder and death and I'm going to die, you're going to die?
Continuum. Absolutely. 100 times a day. This is what I live through every day.
Bill Walsh has seen, you're the biochemist at Carl Pfeiffer Treatment Center in
Naperville,
Illinois. You're president of the Health Research Institute, and you've seen this child?
Yes. We have a medical clinic in Naperville, Illinois, a very specialized place, and we've seen Corey. Corey is actually our favorite kind of kid.
Because?
We love kids like Corey because they have usually terrible body chemistry. We can usually find out what's wrong and correct it.
Okay, when you say you like it, meaning like a doctor loves sore throats because he knows how to cure them, or a pediatrician knows how. I think I understand your point. From a scientific point of view, this is a case study then that is not necessarily maddening. Is that what, for the researchers, is this what you mean?
No, because we tested him. We did 120 different lab tests, and we found out what we believe it to be wrong. And in his particular case, he has a metal metabolism problem. It causes episodic violence. It causes exactly the kind of behavior that mom is experiencing, and the success rate's very high.
Yes.
I wanted to ask when this behavior started and if you're afraid of your own son.
Some of the behavior started when he was very young. It got worse when he was about 3, when he was with other children, started biting and hitting and kicking. Right now, one of his favorite things to do is to push on my mother-in-law when she's standing on the stairs. He goes and gets knives out of the drawer, and he'll come after you with a knife.
Did he ever self-abuse?
Not really.
No hair pulling, no...
No.
He did bite kids, though, didn't he?
Right. Got hard to keep him in school.
You've been to shrinks. You probably saw more shrinks than you are. You probably get a little crazy going to shrinks.
Yes, I found I was getting very crazy because...
Everybody has a different diagnosis.
Right, and they all said it was me. You have to do this when he acts like that.
Well,
you have to do that.
Yeah, listen, you're Exhibit A. I mean, a guy, how easy it is. His father was a drug abuser and also a difficulty with the law. His father is out of his life. We can assume the separation wasn't altogether civil and quiet.
It wasn't.
A 3-year-old son witnesses this tension in his first 3 years of life. So here we've got an aggressive kid who uses foul language and has a preoccupation with death. Fixed.
Wait, we could say it's a lot of things. We could say he was premature. I mean, there's a lot of people jumping in with lots of diagnosis, lots of things. You're a terrible mother. You're all alone. That's how I felt. I just felt like I wasn't doing anything. Right.
What surprises me with his behaviors, he seems to be happy when he's saying these things. Does he ever do it out of anger? Not that I'm condoning what he's saying,
right.
but
you would look rather...
like he was enjoying getting a rise out of you. You know,
yeah.
I would expect this from a child who was maybe doing it in anger. That would be more normal. This just seems like he was playing for the camera. I mean, does he always do it out of fun, and it's not out of hostility or anything? He just does it to do it?
A lot of times he just does it to do it. This, I have to say, a lot was probably for the camera. He was showing off in a sense. But most of his behavior is much worse than this. I couldn't get that on tape because I have to hold him away from me.
We are joined by Jack Olson, the award-winning author of 25 books, including the most recent title, The Misbegotten Son, a Serial Killer and His Victims. 16 victims?
11.
11.
Lately and 2 earlier. 2 children starting, 15 years in the penitentiary, comes out and kills 11 women.
Most of whom were prostitutes?
Yes.
The area of Rochester, New York?
First in Watertown, upstate, and then in Rochester, New York.
He'd see the prostitutes for sex and then strangle them.
Yes, usually on some slim pretext that they aggravated him by questioning his masculinity or wanting money, or he always had an excuse for it later on.
I'm trying to think here what I can read here. The cops interviewing him. Did she make fun of you, Art? Yes. What did she say? She called me a wimp. Was she laughing at you? She said I wasn't no better than a faggot. This is while you were trying to have intercourse? No, afterward. Did you have your clothes on then? No, we was sitting up there with no clothes on. The car was all steamed up. What happened then? I smacked her in the mouth and said, I'm going to tell the and she said, I'm going to tell the cops, right? And then she says, I think I know who you are anyway. I said, well, you ain't going to tell anybody. What did you do then? Strangled her. What did she say? I think I know who you are anyway. What do you think she meant? The guy that killed all those other girls. The serial killer? Yes. And were you afraid she was going to tell somebody you were the serial killer, right? Yes. What did you do then? I drove around 490 somewhere. I got on the wrong road and ended up going toward Buffalo and cut across the Churchill and down Redmond Road and dropped her off the side of the road. Is there a creek there, Art? I opened the car door and she went right over the guardrail. After you dropped her off, where did you go? I went down to Dunkin' Donuts on Monroe Avenue. Dr. Krause is in your book because Dr. Krause interviewed Arthur Shawcross, this serial killer. What'd you find?
He was different because he was born different. I think that's important to appreciate. He was born with a genetic disorder that puts him at special risk for antisocial, violent behavior.
Yeah. What's the $2 word of this disorder? Pyro something?
No, that's the second condition.
Oh, okay.
There's two.
So you got a word for this?
47XYY.
47X. I love you, psychiatrists. You guys, it's not bad enough. You talk in Latin and you have no idea what we're buying at the drugstore. Now you're coming in with these numbers. 2Y chromosomes.
2Y. Normally you have 46. He has 47. He has an extra chromosome.
Right. Did you do an analysis of Arthur Shawcross's hair, blood, urine, or any of the kinds of things?
Yes, we did all of that stuff.
And what'd you discover by way of that kind of research?
Well, I don't know. You did the hair analysis, but we never got that back. So.
No, we did all of the analyses, and basically he only flunked 2 of the tests, the chromosomal analysis, and he was pyroluric.
Pyroluric, oh. Tell us pyroluric.
That's the second condition that he was born with.
Pyroluric is about too little metal or too much metal? Or
it's a stress disorder. It happens in people who have a disorder in their hemoglobin synthesis, and people who have it have just a terrible temper, and they're prone to depression, and they're prone to stress upsets. When they lose their temper, it's very exciting.
Throwing, hitting, biting, very real aggression in children as well as adults.
It goes throughout society.
So, and you've done controlled studies with an all-American boy brother and his bad seed brother.
Exactly.
And you find you can somehow come up with a test that lets a parent know or anticipate future antisocial behavior.
Well, we can identify children who have a predisposition for antisocial behavior. Now, if it's mild, then terrific parenting and counseling may save the day. However, if it's a severe imbalance, then you have to address the chemical imbalance.
Do we know how severe this mother's son's imbalance is?
Absolutely. He has a very severe type A imbalance, which means he has a metal metabolism disorder. We expect it'll take about 30 to 60 days to correct it.
By way of?
Well, we can correct these kinds of imbalances without using drugs, which is the good news. We can do this usually by correcting a zinc deficiency, for example. We use amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and sometimes diet.
And you also use B12, do you not?
Well, we do in some cases. He's not going to need B12. See, it's all very individual. It's very complex. We have to find out what a person's individuality is, their biochemical individuality, and fix it.
But it is not hysterical or overstating it to say that we are moving toward the time when, quite literally, just as we can anticipate or check genetic predispositions toward various physical diseases, we will also be able to pinpoint mental disorders which include aggression, antisocial behavior, and the possibility of very serious criminal activity later on.
Well, I certainly hope so, yes.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Here is the MD report. Did you get this from...
From the Carl Pfeiffer Clinic, yes.
You took Corey.
Right.
He has sleep and appetite problems. He has been identified early on as needing educational services. His family history includes chemical dependency and criminal behavior. This child is a risk for suicidal behavior due to his impulsivity, risk-taking behavior, his discouragement at not being able to change his behavior, and his frequent statements that he wants to die. He is clearly at risk for chemical dependency and criminal behavior. How about it when they hand you this after you take your flesh and blood? To see a guy who's a professional about what's wrong with your head.
No, that report did not come from us, by the way.
It did not come from you.
That's what the report
And
we
not only
received.
that, and how reliable is anybody's report? Huh? I mean, if these shrinks knew everything, we'd all be healthy.
Exactly.
You're,
I want to know.
You're suspicious, right?
I'm suspicious.
I bet you there's a part of you that says, Mom, relax, your baby's going to be fine. You want to say that, don't you?
I want to say it. He's showing off, and
he's showing off. He's how he gets your attention. He uses 4-letter words.
The normal behavior is much worse than what you saw.
I wanted to ask, did he watch violent television like cartoons? Maybe get some of those ideas from?
He didn't even like cartoons. He wouldn't even watch a cartoon until he was 4. He only watched educational TV. That's all he liked.
I'd like to ask the mother if you noticed any difference after he eats certain foods. Because a lot of times I know that children can just
Yes, they can.
go the opposite way after eating certain things.
I've thought of allergies, and I discount that because it just didn't seem to be quick or dramatic. I didn't notice anything really happening from food.
Let's get you in here. Jack Olson, what kind of childhood did Arthur Shawcross, who's now doing 250 years for the slaying of 2 children, followed by the, not always, but almost always, strangulation death of hookers that he would usually be in, I noticed in these interviews with the cops that was published by the Rochester paper, it was almost always a flirting thing, almost no motels involved, in the car, woods, going to the back, and he'd be paying the woman for whatever services were to be rendered, and then there would be an argument of some kind where he thought she stole his wallet, or somebody called him a wimp because he couldn't get an erection, and certain events would, he strangled him. One woman he threw over a bridge, most of them out of the car, and then he would drive away. So we clearly have obviously an antisocial, but more distant from any kind of empathy for what he was doing. What kind of childhood did this Arthur Shawcross have?
Physically, on the surface, he had a Norman Rockwell kind of childhood. Perfect, lovely little community, good parents as far as I could determine. Everybody respected them. But he himself was bizarre, and he was inexplicably bizarre. Nobody could figure it out. He did the Huckleberry Finn naughty things, but he also did weird things. They'd hear him walking down the road in the middle of the night, maybe with a snapping turtle impaled on a stick. He was very cruel to animals. And he'd be going, die, 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 die. And it wasn't for a while that they realized he's saying die over and over again. Things like that nobody could put them together into a coherent pattern, and of course that continued for years and years and years.
And we'll be back in a moment. Yes.
You say it's a chemical imbalance on the children, and I'm just wondering, you say it can take 60 days to cure. What in adult, does it take longer, or is it a shorter amount of time?
Well, we've done a lot of very, very violent people. What we find is that we get our best results with children. I mean, we've done this with ex-convicts, actually with other serial killers. Children, we get our best results.
I'd like to know just what kind of success you've had with vitamins. I work with the Department of Mental Hygiene. I haven't seen vitamins do too much yet.
Well,
yes.
The truth is, if you were to just take Corey and stuff him full of vitamins and minerals, he would get worse. It's a specialized medical procedure, and you have to do very careful testing. And it will work with vitamins and minerals and amino acids, but you've got to give them exactly the right ones.
Marina, when you obviously you're going through all the nightmares of a mother with a child behaving like this, huh?
This has been horrible. I've been to psychologists, psychiatrists. We're on our 3rd psychiatrist. Went to a pediatric neurologist.
But
I've been everywhere. How do I feel?
Well, I mean, my God, a professional agency just gave you a paper after evaluation said your son is headed for criminal behavior.
Yes. It was hard. It was really hard. But I was glad because someone else saw the things, someone else saw the potential that I saw. And if nothing else, it galvanized my resolve to find an answer. I have to have an answer.
I saw no discipline. Do you ever discipline him? He was doing it like you were egging him on.
He likes to be disciplined. This kid begs to be spanked. He would be thrilled if I would hit him for everything he did.
If you joined us late, let's take one more look at Corey. Home video.
Don't throw things.
You jerk.
Why am I a jerk?
Because you just are.
Why?
You're the worst mother I ever owned.
I am not.
You are too.
Why are you saying that? What did you just call me when you were in the bathroom?
I never ever want to see you.
Huh? I want to get it on tape.
Why?
Because I don't like those words you use.
What are you going to take it to?
I'm just taping it. I want you to watch it.
I'm never going to watch it. I'm just going to pee on you.
You're going to what?
Pee on your head.
I don't think that's funny at all.
And pee down your mouth.
That is not funny.
It sure is funny.
No, it isn't.
I'm gonna turn the heat up to 80 and I'm gonna stick your head in fire.
Well, that would be cute, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'm gonna burn face mother.
I'm gonna what? Burn my mother?
I'll have a burnt face mother after I have my head in the furnace.
Now, one more time here. This is behavior that is alarming and absolutely must be responded to by the parent. Dr. Krause.
Well, sometimes the parent can't take that much control anymore. I think the case with Arthur Shawcross is a good example, because he was out of control, he was doing his own thing. Here was a guy who would just disappear. You never knew what he was going to do from one day to the next. You couldn't predict it. And I think, you know, in that kind of a setting, it became clear for a while the parents felt very pressured by this whole situation because they were blaming themselves, when in fact what they were really seeing was the behavioral disturbance of a genetically and biochemically disordered child.
When Artie Shawcross was a child, his classmates called him Oddie. When growing up, behavior ranged from odd to violent. He served in Vietnam, honorably discharged. He was married 3 times. He had 1 son. He went to prison, you'll help me here, Mr. Olson, for arson and burglary, paroled after 22 months, arrested within 1 year. He was found guilty of the murder of an 8-year-old, Karen Ann Hill, and implicated in the murder of a 10-year-old. They probably just didn't bother to work on the other one, but it's pretty clear he killed 2 children.
He did. He killed them for sure.
Sentenced up to 25 years, paroled after 14 years, 6 months in 1987, and within a year, 11 prostitutes turned up dead in the Rochester, New York area.
That's the story. That's the way it came down.
Are you there, caller?
Yeah. Marina, I can really sympathize with you. I have a 2.5-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. And my 2.5-year-old son, it never fails whenever I open the dishwasher. The first thing he goes for is a steak knife. He's trying to stab his sister. His biological father was chemically dependent, as well as I was at one point in time, and I'm scared. The kid gets violent. You spank him, and he thrives on it. The child craves to be spanked, to be punished, to be put in his room, whatever. And it scares me. What do you do with a 2.5-year-old that's already like this? Where am I going to be when my son is 6?
I want you to go to the Carl Pfeiffer Clinic. It's a prayer.
We've heard this story hundreds of times. We've seen thousands of kids like this. And believe me, if any of you had adopted her son at birth, you would have the same problem today.
I'm glad you called. Hi, are you there?
Yes, hi. I have a 5-year-old son, okay? He killed my cat. He killed my bird. He's very violent. He tells, I'm gonna go kill myself. You want me to kill myself? He goes, takes the knife out of the kitchen, says, you want me to kill myself? I tell him, go in the bedroom. He says, you want me to just die? He calls me a bad mom. He calls me everything. He got little sister that he's very violent with, but I think it's partly my fault from the things I watch on TV, all the violent things that I watch on TV. Do you think that could be part of it?
It would aggravate it, but not cause it.
No, so what do you think I should do? He is very violent towards his sister, towards everybody. Whoever comes to my house, he punches them in the privates, everything.
How old is he?
He's 5 years old. I took him to see a psychiatrist when he was 2 years old.
You have to find out what's wrong, and you need to correct it.
And how do I go about that?
Well, the alternatives are counseling, behavior modification, improved parenting techniques, hospitalization, drug medications.
We cannot fix this for you on a television program on the telephone. What this program intends to do is to very imperfectly share with you some of the work that's being done of late in behavioral disorders that examine genetic or biochemical imbalances in the brain, which may cause this behavior. And I do have to break. We'll be back in just a moment. Can this happen to girls? Here is Susan. Here is Susan with the beautiful and talented Becky, and I say that very sincerely, Becky. You are a very, very, what shall we say here, brave, understanding, unusually bright and insightful girl for the age of 11. And Becky was a problem, Susan.
Very much so.
Well, we had fits, aggression.
What I like to refer to it as an epileptic seizure. It started when she was about 6.5 years old. She would be fine 1 minute, and the next minute she'd just totally lose it.
Lose it how?
She would go into a severe temper tantrum. The first thing I had to do was get my 18-month-old out of the room because he was the smallest thing she could hurt. I got him out of the room, and then the rest was up for grabs. If it wasn't nailed down, it was flying.
Throwing things.
Yeah.
Up against the wall.
Yeah, she didn't hurt herself at all. Just anything she could throw, she would throw. It was like an extremely spoiled brat. And depending on how long it would last would be how much I'd try to stop her. If I just let her go, it would end sooner.
And would she not fall asleep afterward?
When it was over, she'd just lay down on the floor and wake up and not remember a thing that happened.
But if you engaged her, that prolonged it.
Yeah. If I did anything to try and stop it.
Were you the worst person on earth and terrible and so on?
Yeah.
Was there any reference to destructive references, as we heard with Corey?
There was a time she went into one of her fits or episodes, and she went in and shut all the doors and windows and turned on the gas stove. She thought she would kill herself that way.
So now you must have really been shook here. And you showed up then at the Pfeiffer Center, did you?
Well, we had started with 18 months of therapy with Dory Mocktinger, wonderful woman. And we got a long ways, but we just couldn't get over these seizures, and they kept coming more often and getting worse. We were thrown out of our daycare center. We were thrown out of everywhere. And I went through like 6 sitters in 6 months. One of the sitters she had thrown a set of scissors at. We just couldn't get anywhere. I was ready to pack her up and send her to family services because I couldn't help her anymore. And she recommended that I go to the center, and we went up there, and Dr. Walsh did the testing on her. She was diagnosed as a pyrolytic. He gave me these bag full of vitamins, said that she would be better. I didn't believe it, but we went home, we took the vitamins, and 6 weeks' time, she moved back home. We started a new school, new teacher, everything was new. My dad died suddenly shortly after that. She was miraculous at getting the ambulance there and showing him where it was at. And she didn't have any episodes at all.
But did you not then take her off the vitamins and she relapsed into this behavior?
I didn't take her off. I was thinking she was taking them. She decided she didn't need them anymore, and we went downhill in a hurry.
Right.
And it was worse than ever.
Yeah, this does sound too good to be true. Bill Walsh, biochemist at the Carl Pfeiffer Treatment Center in Naperville, Illinois. You're doing more than You're doing more than vitamins here. Are you?
Yes, we are. It's a complex medical procedure. It's
right, well, first, what have you found out about this beautiful young woman?
Well, this sweet young girl has a condition known as pyrolyria, which is controllable. And in her case, she's extraordinarily deficient in zinc and B6. And that's the main focus of her program, and she can be turned on and off with this particular treatment.
You feel better now, Becky?
Yes.
And you don't remember being such a... You don't mind if I say a bad word. You were kind of a little snot. Yeah. You know what I mean, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't like... Do you recall... You must have some memories, do you not, Becky, of...
A little bit.
But it's not very clear, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you feel better now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to talk to your mom.
Yeah.
As good as any 11-year-old. Do you recall feeling, mad like that, or how you felt when these little episodes happened?
Sometimes. A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long has the therapy been underway here, Mom?
We started with Dory in '88. We started at the treatment center in June of '90, and we're still on it. Both programs.
And was there a hair analysis with this child?
There was, but in her case it was not significant, which often happens. There are, we do 120 different lab tests. We just hope somebody will flunk one or more of these tests, so we'll have something to correct. We just balance body chemistry. We try to, it's almost like taking your car in for a tune-up. We try to make them perfect with respect to these chemical factors.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks. Here is the chilling, true story of Arthur Shawcross, the misbegotten son, a serial killer, and his victims doing 250 years after killing at least 13 people, including 2 children and 11 prostitutes. Hi.
I was wondering, the mother on the,
Yes.
How do you feel about all this? What kind of support are you getting from friends and family? Because I know I'll go crazy.
I would too.
Without my ex-in-laws, I wouldn't have made it. They take my son for me. They've helped tremendously. They even take him for a week or 2 at a time.
Yeah. You don't actually entertain the possibility of a serial killer as a future for your son.
I have felt when I'm looking at him that I'm looking into Charles Manson's face. You have to understand, this child shows no remorse whatsoever. I cannot reason with him. He does not feel bad. And when I think of Charles Manson, maybe Ted Bundy is perhaps a better example because he was kind of good looking, he was charming. This child can also be charming. This child win your heart in a second.
We have tested Charles Manson and many other people like him, and believe me, your son does not have the chemistry of a serial killer. Believe me.
Yay.
I would like to ask the doctors how much of a link there is between the parents being chemically addicted to drugs and their child's disorders.
I think that's a very good question. This raises the whole issue of the interaction of child experience, environment, nature, nurture, this whole process, all of which has to be looked at. What we've been talking about today touches on some of it, but I think the environment that someone grows in is going to have a tremendous effect on how the person reacts and what they do.
I'm curious to both mothers. Don't your children lose friends and classmates? And if I had a 6-year-old, I wouldn't want my child around her, as I feel so sorry for both moms.
It's been tough. I'd say my son doesn't have any friends.
In front of the other children?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Call them names.
Don't the other mothers pull the child away?
Terrify them. Yes, their mothers don't want them around. I don't blame them.
Susan?
With Becky, she had a hard time finding friends. Now that she's older, the kids in her classroom actually ask her every morning if she's taking her vitamins.
How is this funded, and can the average person afford it?
Is this an expensive situation at the Pfeiffer?
Our clinic is a not-for-profit clinic. The testing is quite expensive because we do all this lab testing. It comes to a total of between $600 and $700. Most insurance companies cover it. We do have a lot of charity fundraising, and we are able to have some people come that have no funds, such as Corey's mom.
I see some very smart attorney in the future using this as a defense, guilty by reason of chemical imbalance.
Well, we've already had the Twinkie defense.
And these people call our clinic all the time and ask us to test these people. And we've tested Charles Manson, Henry Lee Lucas, and dozens of people like that. We've decided not to do that. We will not appear for that. We think the way to use this is to get these kids before their lives are ruined. Charles Manson's life is ruined. Arthur Shawcross's life is already ruined. Our goal is to get these kids when they're young, find out what's wrong, correct it.
Yeah, I would like to just add one thing. Just to say quickly, this does not challenge individual responsibility.
That's right.
We can explain, doesn't exonerate.
Sir.
I was curious, do you feel like you're going to get a child, son or daughter in the future after all this ordeal?
Get someone back?
Well, no, another child or like son or daughter.
Will she have another baby?
No. Where is my son now? He's with a sitter right now at home.
Yeah.
Do you have a 100% success rate with your chemical treatment?
Remedies. Yeah.
Absolutely not. We can help most families, but we can't help everybody.
It seems like these kids know the right buttons to push, and they're pushing them, and the parents are reacting exactly the way they want to.
So you think this is an environmentally induced behavior?
I think it's a little of both.
Yes.
Do your son mistreat his grandmother and the babysitter?
Oh, yes. My grandmother, or his grandmother, has had huge bites and bruises that you wouldn't believe on her arms.
Are there any of those type of chemical disorders that are not curable? You've talked about some of the ones you have success rate. She looks like she's a very well-mannered child after she's been corrected. But what are the ones that aren't correctable?
The people we can't help basically are people who have perhaps a head injury with brain damage, something like that. We're usually able to help in about 95% of the cases with behavior, some partially, some totally.
And the XYY disorder is not treatable. You have it,
exactly.
You don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'll be back in a moment.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
Are you there, caller? I'm glad you waited. Hi.
Hi. I have a 7-year-old who the doctors want to put him in a long-term institution because this program suits him to a T. The butcher knives, everything. This is my first glimmer of hope. Thank you.
Oh, my. Yeah. Are you still with us, Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this is rough.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. You don't have to sorry. Hey, you can't cry, you can't laugh. There's nothing wrong with your emotional condition here. He's 7, you said?
Yes.
And you've actually had a professional person say you've got to lock this kid up?
12 of them. He's been in 4 psychiatric hospitals, medications. He hit his sister so hard in the face he caused a blood clot.
When did the behavior start? How old was he?
He was about a year.
I want you to know, Mom, that there are no silver bullets out there, although it must be said that the work being done at Pfeiffer has been impressive. But let's not be Santa Claus here. You know, this is a very uncertain science still. Tell her.
It's still early, and we really won't be able to be traditional medicine until we do our double-blind controlled studies. We've only done one. But I do hope I get to meet you soon.
I was just wondering if you have a job that keeps you out of the house a lot where maybe he needs a little bit more of your attention. Could that possibly it? No?
My son?
No, you want to answer her?
No, I don't, but I would like to ask...
Well, wait a minute, just a second. There is an enormous prejudice toward nurture as opposed to nature. And I assume you don't want to discount nurture. You know, you can really ruin a child's psychosexual everything dynamic if you abuse a child in the early years. Bill?
If you want a recipe for a criminal, it's to have terrible inborn chemistry and a lousy environment, the two coming together.
I'd like to know with the treatment is if you follow it up with a complete look at the whole diet and eliminate things like food colouring, chemicals and highly processed food from the diet, and if it's an ongoing treatment all through the person's life.
It's very important. The food diets can be vitally important.
Yes, ma'am. You wanted to ask.
Yes, oh, thank you. I wanted to ask if the mother of Corey has taken the advice and has she started any of this medication from the biochemist?
Yes, I have, and I think I'm already seeing results, although I'm not supposed to yet. My son felt bad for kicking me with a steel-toed cowboy boot.
And that's new.
That was the first.
And
absolutely.
We'll be back in a moment. Here's Jack Olson's riveting account of the serial killer Arthur Shawcross, the misbegotten son, a serial killer, and his victims. Yes, you wanted to ask.
I wanted to know if these children have higher intelligence or lower intelligence.
You get all kinds, from the very bright to handicapped.
Yes, you wanted to ask.
I wanted to ask Corey's mom, in the beginning, did you spoil your son to make him stop with these tantrums?
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
You want regular cheddar cheese with all that fat, cholesterol, and calories? No, no. I'm giving you Alpine Lace fat-free because I care how you and you eat.
A fresh cat box starts with Johnny Cat Premium Cat Litter with exclusive Green Guard odor control. Ooh, I love my Johnny Cat.
guest accommodations provided by the luxurious Drake Hotel, a Swiss hotel on Park Avenue. Call 1-800-DRAKE-NEW York and ask about our weekend and honeymoon packages, starting at $125.